I've got 3 pieces of wood here. I've got a piece of walnut, cherry, and maple. So I'm going to make a segmented turning. I haven't done one for a while, and I think it's time. But it's going to take me a little while to do it because I'm really busy. I've got a lot of things going on. I've got different appointments, and I just don't want to rush this. So I'm going to be doing little sections, and I'll try to piece it together when I edit it so that it flows good and is enjoyable to watch. But with these 3 pieces of wood, they don't look like much right now, but I can see a diamond in the rough in these 3 pieces of wood. So let's go ahead and get going on this, and I'll see what I can do to make this flow as smooth as I can. Alright, I'm going to cut some segments. They're going to be 16 per row. So I've got my little wedge set up for that. I'll be using the wedgie sled here. Here's my stop. I've got it adjusted for the correct distance on this segment. Because these are all going to look exactly the same except for the width of the piece, I'll just show you cutting this one. But I spent a lot of time trying to work out how to make this. It's really a kind of a tricky glue up. So we get these done glued together, I'll go ahead and make the feature ring on this. The stock I used for these segments is a little more than 13/16 thick, but the rings that I need are just a little under 3/8. So I'm gluing them up thick here because I have the same diameter rings in a couple different places. So this saves a lot of glue up, plus it's easier to glue it up this way. And because the rings are pretty much the same diameter, I'm just going to show this one being glued together because literally this will be making 2 separate rings, and this happens a couple different times on the turning. On some rings I can get by with just using rubber bands, but on a lot of them I like to use the hose clamp like this one right here. But I'll get them underneath there, put some pressure on it, get the segments nice and flat, tighten down the hose clamp, take it out, clean the glue up, and I can let that sit for a little while and then do another one, just like what we're going to do right here. So you're looking at my new little 1221 lathe, and what I'm doing right now is the main reason that I actually wanted to get this. In my big lathe I have a beautiful piece of olive wood, and I also want to start a segmented turning. This is going to tie a lathe up, whichever one I'm using, longer than I want. So I'll glue this on, I won't have to rush. I can go back to my other lathe and work on that piece of olive wood. So I'm going to just bring this up. I've already put some lines on here to mark things up like so. Clamp it up, let the glue dry. It can sit here for as long as I need it to. So we'll be doing something else to this probably tomorrow. Alright, I'm going to glue a ring on. I'm going to let it sit for a while because we're going to go buy a tree for our yard. So that'll be perfect timing. I'm going to check this for center. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Got some clamps on it. And then we'll come back and I'll actually have to split this ring. It's twice as wide as I want it. So we're back from getting our tree, but we ended up with 2 trees and a rhododendron. I needed to get that disc parted and another one glued on, so I didn't show how I split it, but I will show that again later because I have to do it a few more times. As soon as that glue dries, I'll part this off so it's thinner. It's just an easier way to make the rings. I'm using about 3/8 thick rings, gluing this up a little more than 3/4, parting it off. It's just a lot easier to glue it up this way. So what I'm doing here is, as I get a ring glued on, I like to put some shape on it, at least make it round. But in this case, I'm bringing it pretty close to the size that it should be. It's just a lot easier to do that on segments. They tend to create a lot of harmonics in there, and I've been using the 1/2" bowl gouge for everything here, and I probably average about 850 RPM for most everything. This is a piece of maple. I'm using this for an accent ring. Once I get this glued on, I'll part it, and it'll be much thinner than what you're looking at here. Somewhere around 1/8 of an inch, maybe even less. These 3 pieces of wood here will be the feature ring. I have some cherry, walnut, and another piece of cherry. I'm not 100% sure if these are going to be the right size, so I'm not going to mention what size they are. If it works out, then I'll tell you what size I used. Pretty sure it's going to be really close, but until I glue it and make some cuts, I won't be 100% sure. So the glue up on this feature ring is going to be a little bit tricky, and the pieces are not set up on a 90-degree angle, so it's pretty hard to calculate what that finished ring will be. So that's the only thing I'm uncertain about. I know I'll be able to make a ring, but the exact diameter is sort of a guess. Well, I'm all set up to cut the segments for the feature ring. And I can tell you right now, this is going to be a very tricky glue up. I haven't done one, but I know for a fact it's going to be hard to hold the pieces in place and glue them together. So what I have here is a 1/2" strip of walnut is in the middle, and 1 inch on each side is cherry. I'm going to cut these on a 30-degree angle. I have the rail on my sled set up for that. They'll be a 1/2 inch wide. I'll do another piece of wood here without the walnut. It'll just be cherry. They'll be the same cut. 30-degree angle and a 1/2 inch wide. So that's all I really know for right now until I go to the next step, because I haven't totally worked this out. Let's go ahead and cut these. I won't show you the cherry because it'll be just like that without the walnut. So what I'm doing here is trimming these pieces to the right length for the segment, plus I'm putting a opposite 30-degree angle on them, and once you see it you'll understand why I've had to make the angle the opposite 30 degrees of what I cut the first time. The pieces I'm cutting right now are the actual segments for the feature ring, and they have an angle on the side which allows you to make a ring. The first ones I cut are actually considered spacers. There's no angle on the side. They can be any width that you want them to be. They happen to be the same width as the segment that I'm cutting. I'll have to show you this later and explain how all of this works. Alright, it's time to glue the feature ring together, and this is going to be so much harder than a normal ring, and that's because a normal ring, the joints are straight up and down. They're 90 degrees. This not only has the 10-degree angle on the sides, it's 30 degrees this way. So as you clamp it, you're going to want to shift upwards. I have a ring around this. I have a disc to clamp against. It still takes a lot of pressure to hold it down. Even using my glue press, they'll have a tendency to want to pop up, and I don't want them popping up because the feature ring in here, the feature segment, will be out of place. So gonna come up with a different method where I glue them together in pairs like so, glue another set, and then maybe glue 2 or 3 of those sets together. And if it still looks nice and flat, I'll put a high spot on the ends of each one of those setups, and then a flat board in my glue press will hold everything down. That is my plan. I haven't done it, but we're going to try it right now. So let's go ahead and start gluing these together in pairs. I'll show you a few of these, but this definitely will look exactly the same. I'll line them all up with the same corner. Make sure they're flat, like so. I'll do another one, but it will look exactly the same. The exciting part is when I try to do them all at one time under the glue press. As I mentioned, this is a very difficult glue up, and I wouldn't say that I have it perfected, so I don't want to talk about this too much. I think what I'm going to do is get it absolutely perfected so it's much easier, and then maybe I'll make a video showing just how to make this feature ring, and that's it. Other than that, I think it'd be real confusing if I tried to tell you what I was doing here, because I wasn't 100% sure of what I was doing. Would work. So I cleaned the bottom of the feature ring up a little bit. It didn't take much because I had it glued nice and flat. Now I'm gluing it in place. I will flatten that off and glue some more rings on it, but I also will do the shape on the inside, get that taken care of. So you can see I have 2 more rings glued in place, and those rings actually started out as 13/16 thick board, but once I have them on the lathe, I part it and get 2 rings out of it, and they went in different places, but it worked out quite well. I'm about ready to glue another piece on there. It'll be out of walnut, and I'll show you how I part that to get a thinner ring out of a thicker ring. Alrighty, that should do it. That top ring is going to be around 1/4 inch. That leaves me extra stock with the leftovers to do something else with it. Alright, time to put a shape on the outside. I did draw this up in Woodturner Pro, and I left enough stock to make some changes if I wanted to, and I am making some changes from what I had drawn up. It's pretty much where it should be, at least in my mind, but I'm going to blend it with the negative rake scraper, and I think we'll be about ready to do some sanding on it. I have a tapered block in here to take away the vibrations. When it gets thin with segments, it can really start chattering. That should do that, and sandpaper will take care of the rest of these little soft blends that we need to do. I see a little kind of a corner. There we go. That's it. I think it's time to sand it, but I'm going to do that tomorrow morning probably. Alright, time to do some sanding. The scraper did such a great job. I'm going to start with 220 grit using sheets of paper. So I'll sand the inside off camera because it will be hard to see anything, and we'll come back and get a finish on it. Alright, time to put the finish on. I've decided to use spray-on lacquer. So I have the lathe spinning around 330 RPM, and you haven't seen that future ring there. I'm just going to say this was a real struggle, so you're going to just wait a few more minutes and you'll get to see it, and you can tell me how you think it turned out. But it was quite difficult to glue up. Alright, I'll do the inside. Well, you can see a little bit of that, but you can't see much. Alright, I think we'll see you shortly, and we'll see how this turned out, and you can let me know what you think. Okay, it's done, and I think it's time you got to see the diamonds in the rough. And here they are. There's 16 diamonds in that future ring. So I used cherry, walnut, and maple, and you can see where I used the maple and walnut together to border the future ring. I think it really adds to it. Finished 5.5 inches in diameter. It's 3 13/16 inches tall, and the walls are 1/4 of an inch. I like that inside a lot, and the base is about 1/4 of an inch. I used about 7 coats. I didn't keep track of it, but I sprayed lacquer on about 7 times and buffed it out with the fine Scotch-Brite every other coat, and at the final I used the Axe sanding paste and the polishing paste, and it left it really, really nice. So there's 16 segments per row. There's also 16 segments in the future ring, but there's actually 32 pieces, because the diamond is actually referred to as a spacer. In Woodturner Pro, it shows how you can insert spacers and you can choose the size, and that's how I came up with that. But it's a little complicated to go through right now, so I may have to make a special video explaining how all that's done, and I think I've got an easier way to make this future ring. It was not easy, but I did get it done. And I want to make another one and try my other method out. So let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about this turning. Do you like it? I sure hope you did. And I sure hope everybody enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Be sure to let me know if you liked the video. A thumbs up would be great. But I also love reading your comments, and I will do my best to answer them all. A special thanks to all my subscribers. And if you're not subscribed, please consider doing so. I do all types of turnings, and feel free to let me know what you'd like to see. Thanks again, and until the next time, see you later.